I'm Emma.
And I'm Ellie.
And together we are
E Squared. Welcome back to another episode of Campus Chronicles.
The show brought to you by students for students. And what are we going to be talking about today, Ellie?
Today we are debunking common myths and misconceptions about community colleges. So, just things that aren't very well known or things that may be true or false about community colleges that people might not know off the top of their heads.
So, yeah, that's what it's about. And we're doing this because there might be some hesitation that people have about coming to a community college like San Juan. And we just want to show that it is a very good option, and half of the things that people say about it aren't true. And yeah, so let's jump right into it.
Yeah, okay. So I guess I'll draw first from the pile. We're all stuck together. Okay. Does community college look bad on a resume?
No, I don't think it does. I think, honestly, it's pretty much the same as any other university or institution or wherever that you'll go. And I don't think that employers look like they don't care that much about what college you go to or where you got your education, as long as you have it, because it's not like going to community college automatically makes the things that you learn not valid, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, of course it helps if you go to a major Ivy League college that's super prestigious and, well known, but most of the time you aren't going to be applying for a job where that really applies too much, so community college will do just fine for about 99% of the stuff you're going to apply to.
And if you have to go to Harvard to get a job, then I don't know. Sorry, can't help you there, but okay, so the next thing that we have is, here's an advantage of going to community college. Many offer financial aid options that will help with all and every cost. So I agree with this full-heartedly. I've talked about this before on the podcast, but I get FAFSA, which helps me a lot, and I get a scholarship, and I get just the New Mexico, whatever people in New Mexico get.
I think it's the lottery scholarship.
Yeah, something like that.
Equal opportunity scholarship.
Yeah,
there you go.
And it pays for my books. I don't have to buy anything with my own money from the bookstore. It also is helpful because you live close to a community college, because I don't have to pay for housing or anything like that.
Yeah, and then even if you don't have scholarships, community college is just super nice, affordability-wise, too. Just because, it's a smaller institution, which means you don't have to pay as much as you would for, one of the major colleges.
Yeah.
I took one class outside of my electives that wasn't covered by my FAFSA or any of my scholarships, and it was only $200 a class, which can still be fairly pricey, but when compared to $1,000 per course, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, and I'll draw the next one here. Are community college classes easier? For the most part, I wouldn't say that community college classes are easier, but they are probably, paced differently, I would assume.
Yeah.
You get a lot more attention, than if you were going to a major college, because class sizes are more consolidated and you have more focus from the professor. And, if you're going to go into community college, you should have the same mindset as you would have going to a regular college, because it'll just really prepare you for what you're going to find in classes.
I agree with everything she just said, honestly, and I agree that you should go into community college classes with the same exact mindset that you would carry into anything else of that sort, because it'll really help you along the way, and they aren't that much different from the classes that you'd find at a university. And just because it's a community college doesn't mean that the classes are dumb or they're on a lower level or anything like that. So yeah. Okay, so the next one, hang on, they're all stuck together. Oh, that's what we get for using sticky notes.
Yeah.
Okay, so an advantage of going to community college, this is for older students that maybe choose to go to a community college later in life. They can obtain skills needed to enhance their careers, which I think is really cool, because if you're you've been in a career for a long time, you can move up in it if you choose to go that route of getting some more education about it.
Yeah, and then for first-time college students too, especially if you're or weren't fortunate enough to go to college when you were younger, or maybe you've just never thought about it before. It's a great opportunity just because it's approachable and the people there are nice, and it's once again small class sizes, so everyone really cares about you and you make friends and gain connections, and it's just a super great thing to do if you want to
Yeah.
go back or
And
attend.
like she said, even if you don't, even if you didn't get a chance to go to college earlier in life, like right out of high school, then it's still a good option to try something later in life. But yeah, it would always be a good option to just try something new and to further your education if you choose to do so. And there's no shame in doing that later in life too.
Yeah. Okay, pull the next one here. Um, Another advantage: many colleges offer greater flexibility in students and schedules.
Oh,
Student
wait.
schedules.
I love that we drew this one next because it kind of goes right along with what we were just talking about. If you're maybe a mom and you have a lot of kids, maybe they work with you to find the schedule that works best for you so you can be there with your kids. Or if you have a really demanding job, you can take online classes so then you aren't taking time out of your day that you could be working. Or if you're a student and you're not sure how much time you actually want to spend at the college, you can just have a few classes a day. And yeah, I think it really works with everyone's schedules, and if you have some accommodation you need, they definitely work with you to find that.
Yeah, and then there's also this nice thing about the pacing of community colleges. There's no real deadline on the time you need to graduate, so you can kind of, space your classes out between years if you need to, just to make sure you are getting, the education you need, but you can go at the rate you need too, which is a nice advantage. So yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like I definitely have said this before, but like they even work with you on what hours you want to have your classes in. I don't like getting up earlier than like 10, so if I have to have a class in the morning, I can always ask them, "Hey, can I have that at 10 instead of like 8 in the morning?" You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, and then, sorry, one more thing. Just because the colleges are so small usually, there are typically multiple professors teaching the same subject, so even if one class doesn't work for you, maybe another one will at a different time. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so the next one I drew is another advantage. You'll be in less debt if you choose community college, which is very true because, like we've talked about, they offer a lot of financial aid options, and even if you don't qualify for those, it's still way cheaper than going to a big university. You save on gas money, especially. You save on book costs. You save on just every aspect of having to pay for college.
Yeah, and then there are some unexpected things that I saved a lot of money on too. Like for the example, the cafeteria has not only meal plans, but also their meals are super cheap and affordable. So it's like maybe $2 less than every other fast food area in our area.
Yeah.
And it doesn't sound like too much, but accumulated over time, that does really help to save some money. And yeah.
Yeah, and most of the options that they have are really good too. So it saves you gas money from having to drive around town looking for something to eat. There's multiple options. So if you don't want to have the same thing every day, you don't have to. And yeah.
Yeah, and of course that's only one example, but once you join a community college, you'll find that there are ways to save money that present themselves to you that you wouldn't normally find at a larger institution. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, my turn to draw, I think. Right? Okay. Is there any student life at a community college? So this is something that I wasn't sure of when I started too, and yeah, there's actually a ton of stuff to do here.
Yeah.
There are clubs and there's programs and there's community things. Colleges, oftentimes in small communities, are the community gathering center, I guess.
Yeah, like
because-
where
yeah.
everyone in the town will hang out and do stuff.
Yeah, I mean, of course you have civic centers and other organizations, but colleges especially host a lot of events and a lot of learning opportunities and just really cool stuff that you wouldn't find, just outside of the college and community. I mean, the same thing goes for large colleges too, but for community colleges especially, it serves as a hub for the local community.
Yeah, and honestly, going along with that, if you want to get involved with anything that the college has to offer, all you have to do is just honestly check your email, because they'll send out
Yeah.
flyers and posters and stuff that of upcoming events. You'll hear people talking about them. Look in the hallways for events, talk to people, talk to your professors, and if you want to get involved, just you put the effort forward to get involved. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And pro tip, make sure you check your email early and often, because I keep missing breakfast burrito day, and I am not happy about it.
I am not happy about that either, because I check my email at like 12 and it's like 10 to 11 breakfast burritos today or whatever. And I'm like, dang it, like, if I knew about that, I would have gone and got a breakfast burrito. Okay, so are professors at community colleges less qualified than professors at larger colleges? No, of course they're not less qualified. Actually, a lot of the professors that I've had even have taught at bigger colleges, have taught at universities, have taught in other scenarios before, have gone through a lot of life experience leading up to working here. So it's not the case at all that they're less qualified than a teacher at a big university. And they teach you a lot of helpful things, and it's helpful to talk to people who have had different, like, life experiences, especially relating to what you're studying. And a lot of them have at least a master's degree. They have to have some sort of degree to work at a college, so they're definitely not at all less qualified.
Yeah, I mean, in my experience, it's always been really competent professors. I remember I had a math class, and I usually suck at math, but the guy teaching me, had a lot of experience, and he presented the subjects in a really digestible way, and it was really nice. So yeah, and then I remember for another one of my classes, I had a professor that worked on a bunch of behind-the-scenes stuff for movies and stuff, and he also happened to be a professional yo-yoer, so
Cool.
that's pretty fun. You just never know what you're going to get at a community college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that is what makes it fun, honestly.
Yeah. Okay, draw the next one here. Okay, another advantage. More personalized services and smaller class sizes.
Which we've already brought up, but it definitely is important to bring up that if you need help, there's people to talk to. If you need to talk to your professor, it's way easier for them to build a connection with you because there is like a smaller class size and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, like Emma said, we bring it up a lot, but it really is an invaluable part of community college, especially with larger institutions. I would imagine that it would be a lot harder to get back to every single student in the class, especially if you're teaching at like a lecture hall. So having that smaller class size really, really helps for communication between both the professor and the student, and between the students and the other students in the classroom, because you sit next to the same people, you do the same things every day, but like in a good way. And,
not in a bad way.
It just really builds a sense of community, which is nice because it's a community college. So yeah.
And along with that, it's way easier, like we mentioned, to get in touch with your teacher at a big university or something like that. Maybe your teacher has office hours, but you have to wait in line or like actually go back and forth for a long time to even get like an hour slot because there's so many other students in the class. But it's really easy to get in touch with your teachers when and if you need them, which I think is really, really important, because like if the assignment is due that night and you have a big question about it, then they get back to you pretty quick and you don't have to stress out about, oh no, I'm going to fail because I didn't know the answer to this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's nice to not have to wait hours and hours and days just to get a response back for a simple question.
So this is another advantage. Community college allows you to complete your prerequisites and the first 2 years of college without paying high tuition, which we really have touched on a lot, that going to community college is a cheaper option, and it really is helpful to complete the prerequisites and the classes that maybe aren't directly related to your major but you still need, and get them out of the way cheaper than if you went to a university, because you have to do them anyway if you go to a bigger college, and doing it this way just makes you not have to pay as much. You know what I mean? Yeah,
so it's really helpful because both Emma and I are working towards our associate degree right now, and it really helps because if you only want an associate's degree with basic knowledge of the subject you're studying, you can go for that, or you can transfer to a larger college, or in some cases stay at the same college to work up 3-year degrees. And it's really nice just because you have, more opportunities for learning and community growing and other stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and for our next topic, we have any famous people graduated from community college? So this is just, kind of a fun one.
Yeah.
A couple famous examples of people who have graduated from a community college are Halle Berry, Eileen Collins, the astronaut, if you're not familiar, Morgan Freeman, and George Lucas.
Which
So,
is crazy that the inventor of Star Wars went to a community college. So if you're like, "Oh, I don't want to go to a community college," no one, like, I guess, I don't want to say important, but like, if you have the misconception in your head that maybe you aren't going to amount to much if you go to a community college, which isn't true at all, but if, like, maybe that's a doubt you have in your head, look at freaking George Lucas went to a community college and created Star Wars. Like, that is so crazy.
yeah. And then, just a little shout out to colleges in New Mexico specifically. New Mexico is actually doing a lot of stuff to foster a good environment for filmmaking, speaking of George Lucas. So we have a lot of film classes and a lot of opportunities for students to get out there in the field and work with some really cool equipment and really cool people with lots of experience. I mean, I know a couple of weeks ago, I think, we had a Foley artist and some sound design people and, just a bunch of really, really cool film people come in and give some lectures. So it was a really nice experience to see, especially at such a small college. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the last ones we have is, do community colleges offer a range of majors? And yes, they definitely do. There's a lot of options available for ranging from like accounting to painting to photography to like a dental hygienist and things like that. There's definitely a lot, and there's specialized degrees and courses that focus on degree paths. So yeah, if you're looking for a specific path, chances are maybe if it's too specific, you might want to look into a bigger college, because I know at first I wanted to do theater because I love theater and I love acting, but San Juan doesn't have like a set theater program at the moment, which isn't like, it's fine because I found marketing and I actually really enjoy it, but like there's still a lot of options anyway, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, at a community college, you're probably not going to learn astrophysics. I mean, just kind of a no-brainer. But we do have a planetarium where you could learn about astronomy, almost said astrology, and stuff like that. And then we have a geology class. We have botany, I'm pretty sure, or biology, something like that. A lot of really niche subjects and a lot of really big subjects that are split into, just larger groups. So
Yeah.
if you want to learn something specific, you can sort of tap into something like that. And if you want to learn something kind of niche, you can tap into something like that. So it's just a really nice thing to look into.
Yeah, and honestly, I like that you brought that up, because there's like smaller fields, or maybe just the big field in general. Like if you want to study a specific line of science, there's like some biology or whatever, and you can always study something related to the field you want to go to and do it for cheaper, and then once you know that you for sure want to do that, you can move up, and you saved a lot of money when you were figuring out what you want to do. So
yeah, even if you make a mistake on your degree path, like something you don't enjoy, that's another good benefit. It's no worries.
yeah, and you can always just start from somewhere, you know what I mean? There's no shame in thinking about what you want to do before paying a lot of money, you know what I mean? Which is a good thing about community college, as we keep talking about, but it really is a very amazing aspect of going to community college, that you can figure out your next steps without paying a lot of money to do so.
Yeah, and then there are extracurriculars too that you can apply to, your normal class schedule. So even if you, want to stick to a degree path, you can always explore a little bit, dip your toes into something else for a while. So yeah, okay. And then for our last question,
Final question.
or I guess it's not a question, but people who go to community college are older and have jobs. While this is kind of true, I mean, you do see a lot of elder people here and a lot of working people here. Sorry. The people that attend community college have a wide variety of backgrounds and stuff. So you'll see people from high school, just first-time college students, people going here for affordability, people returning after not being in college for a while, and, people with kids. It's a good alternative to, like a larger, more sophisticated college, I guess.
And I agree with everything you just said. You definitely meet a lot of different types of people and people from all walks of life. And that's what makes it fun, because you get to talk to so many different people who have different views than you, have different life experiences than you, might be able to answer some questions that you have, you know what I mean? And it's like we've mentioned before in this podcast, there's no shame in going to community college at any point during your life. There's no shame in wanting to get an education if you maybe took a break after high school, or took a 40-year long break after high school, or if you had a kid and maybe didn't have the energy for it, but now that they're a little older you do, or you're just out of high school and you don't really know what you want to do yet, so you go to community college to figure it out. And yeah, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, for example, I had a design arts class, and the ages in that class were like from maybe 16 to 40s something. And it was just a really, really cool experience because we would all talk and sort of socialize a little bit. And I got to hear stories from, past veterans, people coming out of high school, people who had been, in the industry for a while, and people who wanted to start. So it was just nice to see the diversity of people at the college here.
Yeah, so. And another notable story that I have that I like that you brought up, like a specific class you had. When I took freshman seminar in fall semester, there was an older gentleman in one of my classes, and he had the most interesting stories ever. And he was just so cool to talk to and just hear about what he has gone through and his thoughts on how college has changed from when he first tried it when he was like 20 based to now, you know what I mean? Like, and it was just cool to get to talk to different people. It's always cool to learn more things and talk to different people that you normally wouldn't interact with. And yeah, I think that's one of my most favorite parts about community college is all the different people that you get to meet.
Yeah, so it's a nice experience, especially if you want to get to know more people and have more experiences and just, talk to people that you wouldn't have normally interacted with.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And once again, thank you for tuning into another episode of Campus Chronicles. It's always nice to have listener support, so if you're listening to this, thank you for tuning in. I know I already said that, but it really, really helps, and we appreciate it. So
yeah, and we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we hope you have a good rest of your day.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.